What is going on, you wonderful thought-having people? Like every single day, I'm Jake from Give It Thought, and let's just get right into today's story. So in an interview with Pete Hines, who is Bethesda Game Studios, is it Studios or Studios? I don't know, too early for me today. But Pete Hines functions as their VP of Marketing and Public Relations and is usually who you hear giving interviews and answering Twitter questions about that company's games. So in an interview, Mr. Hines implied that the Nintendo Switch may not be powerful enough for some of their upcoming games. Of course, we got Skyrim in the Switch reveal trailer, so that is kind of confirmed, I guess. I know a lot of places on the internet seem to want to inject doubt into that confirmation, but I'll go ahead and say Skyrim will be on the Switch. And as we know, Skyrim was a last-gen title, and rumor has it that the Switch will be more powerful than the Xbox 360 and PS3, but not as powerful as current-gen hardware. So it's clear that Skyrim can run on that system if it could run on the others. The particular game that most journalists seem to think Pete Hines was talking about was the upcoming Prey reboot. Can I gush about that for a second? Oh, it looks so good. But that game will obviously be on this gen, and there's no word for how demanding the game will be hardware-wise. Clearly, just by the looks of it, it's going to suck a lot of juice, and I think Bethesda is worried that the console they signed up to support from the jump of its own announcement may not be able to handle what they're putting out. Although Bethesda seems to be in close contact with Nintendo, given that Pete Hines said, "We talk to Nintendo all the time, we're pretty well briefed in on what they're doing." So Bethesda is briefed, but not briefed enough to know the hardware specs of the console? I'll return to that question later. But Pete Hines went on to say this when asked if he thought all their titles would be on the Switch. "It's definitely something we will look at, and our philosophy is that we will put our games out on any format that supports the games as we envisage and make them." So that last part is important, as we envisage them. Bethesda, or Hines rather, is saying right there that the company does not want to downgrade their games to fit on a less powerful platform. This could be a problem for the Switch, especially if it wants massive third-party support. And if other companies follow Bethesda's policy about downgrading their games, then I think they're going to be stuck. Hines continues, "If the NX fits that from a technical standpoint and fits the game that a developer in our stable is making, Arcane, I don't see why we would not put it out on the NX. But it's too early to say we'll definitely be putting games out or not." So there's another red flag. This is where I'll return to that question. Does Bethesda know the NX? Yep, just called the Switch the NX. I knew that would happen eventually. But does Bethesda know the Switch's hardware specs? I mean, taking that statement at face value, it doesn't seem like it. Surely any developer would know if a system could handle a specific game. Heck, I could even make a basic guess, and I know nothing about that stuff. What I think is happening is that Pete Hines is stuck between a rock and a hard place. He can't disclose whether or not a specific game can work on the Switch because that would be outing the system's specs before Nintendo even has the chance to. And the figurehead of Bethesda Game Studios, the Hall of Famer Todd Howard himself, has mentioned that he signed a non-disclosure agreement around it. Truth is, Mr. Hines is doing his job very well and keeping to mostly vague statements about the console and his company's games. But I can see where the disconnect is when people read through interviews from PR guys. That's not the end of the quote though. There's still a bit more info to mine here. Hines finished up his statement with this: "Like with mobile, we want to have the right fit for the right formats." So this can be interpreted two ways. One is that Hines is basically hinting that if a game doesn't fit within the Switch's specs, then it's not coming to the platform, plain and simple. But Hines could be hinting at the possibility that the Switch will be treated more like the mobile platform and they'll be porting their mobile games over there, like Fallout Shelter and Elder Scrolls Legends. Again, I just want to say, all of this is coming from a guy that is legally bound not to reveal any information about Nintendo's next console, and knowing that, it makes it really difficult to accurately interpret anything he says about it. In the recent past though, Bethesda has been happy to sing the Switch's praises. Shortly after it was revealed, Todd Howard said that it was, quote, "one of the best demos I've ever seen. Probably the best demo I've ever seen." And when asked whether or not they'd be supporting the console, Howard said, "We're definitely going to be supporting it. It's the first time we've done something on Nintendo." So clearly the company is excited about the prospect of the Switch, and it has certainly captured the public's imaginations, that's for sure. Recent patents on the console have revealed VR possibilities that are similar to Samsung's Gear VR, where you just slide the portable screen into a headset. Of course, just because they patented it doesn't mean it's coming, but it is a nice thought. I just wonder how heavy that thing is. but all secrets will be revealed, hopefully anyway, on January the 13th, which is when Nintendo is set to announce more details on the Switch. Otherwise, we can look forward to the console's release, which is set for March 2017. So what do you think about the Switch's hardware specs? Will it be powerful enough to run Bethesda's games? Or do you think the technology will quickly leave it behind to start gathering dust like the Wii U? Be sure to tell me any of your thoughts on this story or the Switch in general down below. And I think that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you enjoyed this video, you know what you have to do. Hit that like button for me, and if you're new here, why not subscribe? I put out a new video every single day, and if you want to be caught up on all those, you just gotta hit that subscribe button. And if you missed yesterday's video, it was all about The Last of Us Part 2 and a theory that has been going around about Ellie being pregnant. So if you're interested in that, go check that video out. But I think that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, give thought to everything.